Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the middle of the day, a 911 call occurred. A man had called saying that there was a car that ran into a building and that he had heard gunfires. But that man was not the only one to call 911. Another 911 call had occurred. A man said they needed the police and the ambulance because somebody got shot, but the calling didn't seem to stop. A woman called, saying that she had seen a man whose face and the shirt was covered in blood. It looked like he had been shot. The woman was saying that the man was not breathing. What could have happened? When the team arrived at the crime scene, the victim's body was still lying on the ground. He was on the second floor of a building. Officer Kevin Kubitz was telling how there was blood on every stairstep. The team doesn't know a thing about the victim. They are waiting for identification, but the team could still tell how many times the victim had been shot and where. He was shot once in his arm, once in his chest, and once in the back. The team found out that there was some blood on the door of that building, and it got them thinking that the victim might want to get in there. Detective Mark Kennedy and Detective Jeff Gatwood were there too, and they found out that the car parked in that building, the window of it was broken. They decide to get into the car and look around for clues. Inside the car, the detectives find out that there was a phone. The team believes that the shooting might have taken place inside the vehicle, but still, nothing was for sure. The team went around the crime scene, around the car, but they couldn't find any shell casings. But the team started the investigation on the right foot. The team noticed security cameras on the street corner where the victim was. Detective Nathan Schilling decided to go and try to get access to the apartment complex surveillance cameras. Luckily, many people had called 911, so that means the team had many witnesses and many people to ask questions to. The detectives decide to knock on the door of the houses near that area and find out if the victim lived there or not. The detectives asked people, but they said they didn't know who the victim was. So, the team thinks that the victim could be desperate and looking for help, that he just went to that second-floor apartment. Then, the detectives began to ask the witnesses who had called 911. A man said that he had heard a gunshot. Then he saw the victim asking for help and telling him to call 911. The man said that he didn't know who the guy was. But one of the witnesses saw something interesting, saying that another man was there beside the victim, who got out of the car and ran behind the apartment where the victim's body was found. The witnesses said that the man had an A380 or 9mm. The suspect was wearing a long coat, and he had a black stocking hat on his head, which looked like a bit of a ball. The witnesses said that the suspect was a young black male around his 22nd. Detective Brandon Watkins goes behind the apartment to see if the suspect had dropped something, a clue. As the team looked around the crime scene, they heard someone's phone ringing. It was the victim's phone. Someone was calling him. Detective Gatwood takes the number and calls it from his phone. They couldn't touch the phone found at the crime scene yet. The detective rings the number, but no one answers. But he doesn't give up, and after some minutes, the detective decides to call that number again. And luckily someone answered, a man. The detective introduces himself, and the man says that he was trying to reach his friend, Jeremiah. The detective asks the man questions to find out more about the victim. He asks the man if Jeremiah is black or white. The man said that Jeremiah was white and was around 5'7". When detective asked the man how he knew Jeremiah, the man didn't respond and hung up immediately. But at least the detective got the victim's name and surname, and he is going to search for him in the database and see if he could make a preliminary identification. Detective Gatwood gets back into the headquarters and searches for the victim, Jeremiah Goldman. A picture popped up, and it looked like the victim. The detective learned through the database that Jeremiah Goldman was only 28-year-old. He graduated from Bixby High and worked in construction. Unfortunately, Jeremiah leaves behind his parents, 2 sisters, and a brother. The detective decided to call that number again, and the man answered. The man began to talk, saying that Jeremiah was his friend and that they worked together. The man said that Jeremiah was supposed to pick up money from his boss. He said that Jeremiah had been gone for a long time, and nobody could reach him. The detective asks him about what kind of work he and Jeremiah do. The man said they do asphalt, and they had just started the job that day. Then, when the detective asked for the man's name, he said William, and then he hung up. This man was suspicious and didn't tell his surname when he got asked. Then, Detective Jeff Gatwood gets a call from the rest of the team on the crime scene. Someone else had been calling the victim's phone again. The team reached the number and called it. It was the victim's mother. The team goes to the victim's mother to tell her that her son has passed away. After some hours into the investigation, the team accesses the surveillance security cameras. This could change the whole investigation. They click on the video and start watching it. They notice the victim's car going into that area, and then the victim gets out of the vehicle. The victim came running and was waving his arm. He gets into the second floor of the apartment, where he was found, but the camera angle didn't get the chance to show the team who shot Jeremiah. But luckily, there were cameras behind the apartment too. So, the team takes a look at that. They see that a man was there, exactly how the witnesses described it. He was a young black male with a hat on, and it looked like he had a gun in his hand. As the suspect was walking, he dropped the gun. The team could quickly tell that the suspect was either drunk or drugged. He looked like he could barely walk. But the team was happy because they could easily see the suspect's face. The camera got him good. The man was going around the apartment while he was reloading the gun. He was preparing to shoot. Then, the suspect was walking around the area towards a complex called the Addison. Since the camera got him nice and clear, the team decided to put his picture throughout the news. Someone might know him and reach out to the team. After some hours, the team gets back to the headquarters after talking to the victim's mother. Her mother had given information to the team. She said she had picked Jeremiah and his friend Billy that morning after they had finished work. Then, the mother said that Jeremiah went out saying that he had to get some money from his boss. But the mother doesn't know if Jeremiah ever met with his boss. But the craziest thing that Jeremiah's mother had said was that Billy lives in the Addison complex. The Addison complex was just some block away from where Jeremiah's body was found. The team still didn't have the chance to contact Jeremiah's boss, but luckily they had a phone number. They call the phone number without wasting any time. Jeremiah's boss answers, and the detective introduces himself and tells him what is going on. Jeremiah's boss begins to talk and says that the last time he saw Jeremiah was at a convenience store. The boss said that they met there, and he paid Jeremiah. The boss said that the money was for Jeremiah and Billy. Jeremiah's boss gives the team Billy's address. So, the team now knows that the victim had some money with him before he got shot to death. The reason for this shooting could be money. Since Jeremiah and his boss met up at a convenience store, the team wanted to go there and check for the cameras. But the team needed to meet with Billy too. After several attempts to reach Billy, the detectives head to his address, hoping that they will find him. Billy must know something. The detectives arrive at the location and notice that the lights where Billy lived are on. Billy lives with his girlfriend. The detective walks toward his home and knocks on the door. Someone opened the door saying that they didn't know where Billy was. Since Billy was not answering his phone and was nowhere to be found, the detective decided to head back to the headquarters and see if the rest of the team got the security cameras from the convenience store. But unfortunately, the team couldn't get the video. The team could only take some screenshots of the surveillance video at the convenience store. The detectives analyzed the photos and see that Jeremiah was alone at the store, and it could easily be seen that his boss headed him the money. But could it be possible that Jeremiah went there and took someone? One of the witnesses said that she saw another man get out of the car. Anything is possible. There are a lot of unanswered questions. The team decided to go over to Billy's once again and see if they find him home the following day. The detectives knocked on the door, but no one answered this time. Nobody was opening the door. Why would someone run away? Was Billy guilty? As the team was knocking on the door, the complex manager came and talked to them. The team showed her a picture of the suspect on the surveillance video. The manager says that she knew the boy and that he was banned from this era. The team is happy because the manager complex must know the boy's name since he was banned. But unfortunately, the woman didn't know the name of the suspect. But she said that she knew a girl that hung out with the suspect. The complex manager tells the team on what floor the girl lived. So, the team goes there and knocks on the door. She answers the door, and the team shows her a picture of the suspect, asking her if she knew him. The girl said that the boy's name was Zech, but the girl said that she didn't know his surname and didn't know exactly where he lived. She noted that Zech lives in the neighborhood. The detectives are happy that they found the suspect's name. They put Zech's name on GroupMe, reaching out to their departments to see if someone knows Zech's last name. The departments answered back and gave some names of suspects with the same name as Zech. Luckily, the detective recognized Zech's name from a previous homicide investigation. Zech had listed an address near these apartments where the team was, an address that would have been probably a quarter-mile from where the murder took place. As the team found out more about Zech, the 16-year-old suspect, they got informed that Billy and his girlfriend had come to the neighborhood. The detective asks him why he had been hanging up the phone. Billy says that his phone had died, and he couldn't reach out to the team. The detectives ask him to come down to the homicide headquarters so that he can tell his side of the story. Billy agrees. As the team was getting ready to go back and interview Billy, they got a good call. Someone had called saying that they knew Zetch. So, the detectives will interview this person too and see what she knows about Zetch. But the rest of the team will stay near Zetch's house and see if he comes by. Detectives head back to the office and meet with the woman who saw Zetch's picture over the news and recognized him. The woman shows the detectives an image of Zetch leaving the crime scene. The woman said that she was scared, and that day before the murder happened, she said she saw Zetch walking around that area. The woman was 100% confident that that guy that she had seen was Zetch. The woman was a big help to the team. But then it was time for the detectives to interview Jeremiah's co-worker, Billy. The detectives go to the interview room where Billy is being held. The team is hoping that Billy will enlighten the case. Billy began to tell his side of the story, saying that Jeremiah had spent the night at his house before he was murdered. He spent the night at Billy's because they were about to start a new job the following day. Then, Billy said they woke up early and got ready for work the next day. Billy said they worked till 11 o'clock. Then Jeremiah's mom drove him to his apartment. Billy noted that Jeremiah didn't come to his apartment. He said that he would be back after some hours. Billy waited for Jeremiah, but he was not coming back. Then he called him, but that's when the detective called him back and told him that Jeremiah was shot to death. Billy said that Jeremiah should have returned to Billy after taking the money from his boss and then bringing his mother's car back. The detectives wanted to know if Jeremiah was supposed to get back to Billy's with money or drugs. You can never know for sure. The detectives wanted Billy to feel safe and said that it was all right if they were supposed to get drugs. They just wanted to know what had happened. But Billy said that he was supposed to come with money. The detective asks Billy if Jeremiah used to have friends that were black. Billy said that there were times when Jeremiah hung out with black people. The detective asks Billy about the picture going all over the news about Zetch. Billy said that he didn't know who he was and had never seen that person before. The team couldn't think of anything else to ask Billy, so they set him free. The team believes that Billy is not involved in this murder. As the rest of the team were standing outside Zetch's house to see if they would catch him, they saw a man leave that house. The team was able to get the man stopped with the help of patrol and found out that that man was Zetch's father. Zetch's father seemed like a very good person. He was very cooperative with the team. He let the team search in the house and the car. Zetch's father told the team that guns were back at his home. The team found a lot of guns, including a weapon that they think the suspect used as a murder weapon. He told the team that Zetch was still inside the house and convinced Zetch to surrender without causing any trouble. Zetch got transported to the homicide. Zetch's father also agreed to come to the headquarters and tell what he knew. Detective Mark Kennedy went into the interview room where Zetch's father was being held and began to ask him some questions. He said that he saw the picture of his son, Zetch, all over Facebook and knew that he had done something wrong. He said that he called his wife and asked her where Zetch was. He noted that Zetch was there when he came home, saying that it was not him who shot Jeremiah. Zetch's father said that he was outraged and had shown Zetch that his photo was everywhere. Everyone was looking for him. Zetch's father said to Zetch that he must call the police because they would look for him either way. But he said that Zetch kept admitting that he was not the one that did the shooting. Zetch's father said that all the guns at their house were his. But from now on, Zetch's father decided to get the weapons out of there since he got other kids, and they are his responsibility. Now it was time for the team to interview the most important person in the case, the suspect, Zetch. The detectives were ready to ask him questions. Zetch seemed calm. The detective asks him about the school, and he says that he has been taking online classes. Zetch knew why he was there. He knew that he was being accused of murder. The detective asks him to tell him what he had done that day. Zetch says that he was coming home from a friend when he saw police and people. Zetch says that he needed to walk behind the apartment so he wouldn't mess up anything at the crime scene. He said that after that he went straight to his home. The detective asked Zetch directly if he was involved in the shooting, and he said no. He was also saying that he didn't have a gun on the day where Jeremiah was shot. He was lying because you could clearly see that Zetch had a gun on the surveillance video. The detectives tell Zetch about this, but Zetch was still saying that he was not involved. He said he walked behind the apartment because he was scared when he saw the police. But the detectives told Zetch that they knew that he was lying. Zetch seemed less calm now and was about to cry. Then he began to tell the story. Zetch said that he and his friend asked Jeremiah to ride them to the convenience store 3 miles from his house. Zetch noted that the other friend with them was a white man named Raymond. Zetch was saying that Jeremiah was not taking them home and that he was trying to kidnap them. Zetch was saying that Raymond and Jeremiah were fighting in the car. Zetch said that Raymond felt like he needed to defend himself, and that's when he shot him. So, a guy named Raymond was the one that killed Jeremiah. Zetch was lying. The witnesses saw that only one man had gone out of the car, Zetch. This guy named Raymond probably didn't even exist. Zetch was feeling to start scared and admitted that everything had happened exactly how he told the team. But without this guy named Raymond. He started crying and began telling the story from the beginning, saying that Jeremiah agreed to ride him back to his house. It was just them. Jeremiah seemed calm. He brought Zetch a drink and everything. But then Zetch claims that when they arrived at the driveway of his house, Jeremiah didn't let him get out of the car. He was saying that he needed to come with him. Zetch said that that's when they both started fighting, and that's when Zetch shot him twice. Zetch was saying that it was self-defense. When the detectives told Zetch that Jeremiah had an amount of missing money, Zetch seemed confused. Zetch said that he didn't take any of Jeremiah's money. Zetch noted that he had a job, had $120 in his pocket, and said he didn't need to steal from anyone. What a coincidence. That is the same amount of money that was missing. Zetch admits that the day when Jeremiah was found dead, he was on drugs. Zetch said that he has an addiction to bars. Zetch asked the detectives if he looked like the person who would kill someone. He didn't, but he did, unfortunately. Zetch wasn't able to talk anymore. He was crying, and his lips were shaking, saying that he was sorry. But he must take responsibility for what he had done. The team arrests Zetch and takes him out of the interview room. Zechariah Stevenson was charged with first-degree murder, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and unlawfully carrying a gun. Ballistics confirmed that the revolver recovered from the father's car was consistent with the gun that killed Jeremiah. It was the same gun. The detective calls the victim's mother and tells her who her son's killer was and how everything took place. The victim's family deserves to know, but the team still got a video to look at, the surveillance video from the convenience store. They saw Jeremiah's car parked there and that Zetch got in his car. They looked like they were on good terms. There weren't any signs, not a possibility that Jeremiah would want to kidnap Zetch. Jeremiah just wanted to be a good person and give Zetch a ride home at the end of the day. Team believes that this case was a robbery gone wrong. It's crazy to think how many lives are ruined over pointless stuff. Jeremiah will always be missed.